Okay, my clock says 2:40, so let's get this started. So I want to say hi and welcome. My Minecraft name is my Twitter name is LadyMpire, and I'm going to be moderating this session. And welcome to Entering Build Contest. And I'm joined here by the last year's winners. Was anybody at Minecon last year? Or anybody know about the build contest last year? Minecon held a build competition, and the theme was European Adventure, Paris Adventure. So all these people, it was open to 1,000 people. They entered. They had these lots to build on. They built these amazing things, and these are the 3 winners from last year. So starting way down to my left is 16-bit DC, who at the time was under the name Tasty Crabs. He came in second. In the middle, we have Tewkesape. He came in third. And to my left, this is Overraptor, and he had the winning build. So we're going to show you, there's a video of the top 16 builds, and we're going to play that while we're talking a little bit. And then we're going to talk about competitive winning entries, try to talk a little bit about maybe what it's like to host a build contest, maybe what the future holds for building contests, and then we want to allow at least 10 minutes at the end for a Q&A. So if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. And if we run out of time, we will stand outside and still answer them. So this is the video of last year's entry, so it's just going to roll. So I'm going to say, how about we start with Tewkesape, the 3rd place winner, and maybe he can start talking a little bit about his build and what inspired him, and go from there.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so obviously I was 3rd place, and like as we said, the theme last year was Parisian Adventure. So what I tried to go for with my build, which is miles away on this video, but never mind, which was I tried to go for a traditional Parisian square, and tried to build like an adventure map around it. So I started off by like going on Street View, looking around various sights and sounds around Paris, trying to get a flavour of what Paris was like, and decided to. And I took the one particular square in Paris named Place de Saint Ferdinand. Sorry for poor pronunciation of French, because I'm pretty poor on that. But I took that as a basic inspiration for it, and from that built upon by bringing in lots of secrets, lots of little chests with each book had a little piece of French history, of say a French explorer, or something that happened that was quite important towards French history.
And how long did it take you to do this build?
Probably the duration of the competition,
Which the duration was about
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yes. So.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go down to our 2nd place winner and see what his inspiration was and to describe his build.
I sort of didn't have a clue what I was doing, so I googled French castle, and there was some pretty castles, so I just started building a castle from what came in my mind, and I just built. I don't really think about what I build. I just go with what's in my head.
And the interesting thing, how long did it take you to build it?
I did it in the night before.
He did it the night before, and he came in 2nd place. So let's talk to Overraptor and see what inspired him in his build.
For my build, I had the idea of doing like a history of Minecraft through time. So I built like a ride. You get in a cart and it goes around in a loop. And starts from the very beginning of very early parts of Minecraft and goes through all the updates until the update at the time, or of the server, because the server was behind an update. And at that point, I did like a giant Eiffel Tower at the top to signify that all this led to being in Paris. So and it, yeah, basically every stage of Minecraft, all the way up until Paris, was my build.
And how long did it take you?
Pretty much the whole time. I pretty much got home from work, started working, went to bed, went to work. Pretty much any time I wasn't working or sleeping, I was spent building.
Yeah, so there's a lot of time and dedication into these contests. So this is on the screen now. This is third place by Tewkesape.
Yeah. Short, small and sweet. I mean, compared to the others, which will dwarf my build, but never mind. And
This is mine. This was quite a long night.
succinct.
Pretty amazing for one night, isn't it?
I'm very jealous that you can do that in one night. I couldn't do that.
Mine was simply a build. I didn't have any story like these guys. So it was empty.
And this is my build, and it takes a while for the video here to go through, but they actually cut a lot of it out because it actually takes so long to go through. And I actually put up a video on my own channel of the entire thing, and it took me about 19-20 minutes to go through the entire build and not, show everything that was in there. But as you can see, the Minecraft is getting more advanced. There's more blocks, and I explained it all in signs in the build, but
I mean, the thing to point out with Overraptor's build is he does have every single block that was in existence in Minecraft at the time, and he has all the types of structures and things hidden away in different places. And
yeah, for instance, if that's Las Vegas, that's where the first Minecon was, and that stone brick tower there, below there is an entire end, like the end. I built an end down there, and this is the last room, which was I think 1.3.2 at the time, and this is the major attraction right there. This is a time lapse of what it looked like while I was building it, but the dome it shows me building, the dome by itself took me at least 3 or 4 hours just for that dome. But yeah, that took me a while to build.
So the interesting thing is there is another build contest this year, and all 3 of these guys entered again. So it probably will be announced at closing ceremonies tomorrow, so it'll be really interesting to see if they keep their titles.
I did mine the night before again.
he sent me a picture. I was like, I hate you.
But the Minecon build contests are not the only contests that are out there. There's other contests, by other websites. I think maybe 16-bit has been in some other contests. Is that correct?
I've taken part in a lot of Planet Minecraft contests. They're quite recent last year. They do seasonal builds where they post. The recent one was roller coaster. And they've actually, at the booth, the winning roller coaster, they've got a demo showing that with the Oculus Rift, which is pretty cool. What was the other one, which we did?
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
there was I think one of the larger ones in the last year was the Bebop Fox medieval build contest, and I think he had something like 4,000 entries into that competition, and some of the builds in that were incredible because. Unlike with the Minecon one, where it's a single person, single plot, just creative, in his build contest, it was you could have teams and you had a much larger plot and things. And And I think it was a slightly longer period of time. So the builds that were entered into that were just gigantic. And I know, Declan, you were involved with one team. I did a solo build, which was much larger and wasn't nearly as successful, but never mind. I know with the Planet Minecraft ones, those competitions tend to be a bit, have very little limits, because instead of playing that on a server, you end up doing it, that's teams doing it at home, or individuals doing it at home using World Edit, Voxel Sniper and whatnot, which obviously creates different sort of levels as to what you can actually achieve between these competitions, which I think is quite an interesting thing to look at.
Yeah, the way Planet Minecraft runs theirs is they terraform, which is like mass building using Voxel Sniper, and they give you a blank template of an island or just some flat land, something that's not flat like the Minecon ones were, and then they give you a month to do it on your own. World Edit, which is a mass, so you can set a big region instead of having to place block by block, and you just do it like that. So there's quite a lot of organics in those sort of builds.
So I mean, and the obvious thing is all these competitions are completely open for people. So like, so I mean, any of you here who want to get involved in those, it's always like it makes it stronger for the more people to get involved with them. And it's often like, I mean, I think all three of us were really surprised last year when we were sat down in the closing ceremony and went, "Oh, here's your names." And I know I had been literally joking that it was, that's not going to happen. Oh. Yeah. Okay, so
Okay, well, we can go in there to, if you want to talk a little bit about hosting build competitions and maybe what goes into hosting, or what you can expect if you do host one, as far as, the size of the lots.
yeah. Yeah, feel free.
I've hosted a couple of build competitions on my server, just to get the community more involved. One of the things we did recently was a Halloween spawn. So we gave everyone a copy of our normal spawn, which is the initial world where people join the server, and we asked them to put their own twist and turn it Halloweenified. So we had some pretty cool builds, and because the community is quite wide variety, we had some people who did some pretty gruesome ghouls which had blood everywhere, and then we had like witch houses and friendly Halloween sort of things. But what actually goes into running a competition, there's quite a lot behind it, such as the voting. Usually you find some popular YouTubers or Voxel Sniper people who know a bit about build, and ask them to judge, so you get a good variety of judging. And then there's the whole server setup, which isn't an easy task.
I mean, there's always the way up with any hosting any build competition of whether, like, on one hand you've got to have the practical element and the element of what is good from the participants' point of view. So on one hand, you can have, like, you've got to think about like server requirements and things like that. So, I mean, Bebop Fox had the luxury of having MC Pro Hosting providing with a dedicated server, which could handle that many users in one go. But if you're slightly smaller scale, maybe it's worth doing it submission only, which is often a good one to do. But I mean, from our perspective, I think one of the biggest things that, like, to get right with any build competition is make sure starting points and end points are solid and well known, because otherwise you end up with a lot of confusion. And like with any task, if you've got a varying deadline which not sure about, it means that you have to change what your goal is, which isn't always very healthy for builds, I think. Which is always an important factor. So yeah. Okay. You got anything to add to that?
No, but let's go on and talk about maybe the future evolution of build competitions, and maybe from this point what we can see, happening, different kinds of competitions that we might see in the future. Any thoughts on that?
Shall I go? Anyone else? Sorry, apparently I'm going. Okay, so obviously, like a few things might change because the future of Minecraft panel is going to happen shortly after this one, which means that anything we say now could change very quickly. But it's. I mean, one of the things that can change a lot of things is the introduction of realms and greater accessibility to servers and things. But I think the biggest thing is going to be any like block changes or like whether command blocks can ever be introduced as a usable thing in any competition. But it's I mean, from any builder's point of view, having a large palette can either be constraining or it can actually be can widen what you can do. Anyone else got any thoughts?
I think building as a whole will only improve because people, it's just practice and you get better with practice. So, like if you go back 3 years, people had just built massive sculptures, no detail, and everyone would be gobsmacked. Now it's all about the detail. So it'll just get better and better, I guess.
Yeah, that is true. With the like more people get involved, and I mean, as everyone is aware, like Minecraft has grown almost exponentially in recent years, and the number of people getting involved in competitions has meant that the quality of builds in competitions has gone up so dramatically that like even between this year and last year's competition, that it's almost unrecognisable the standard of builds that are going into these things, and it's something that like entering into them is something to always worth taking account of. Is the fact that if you want to build something, you've got to do something that's going to be interesting for the judges to see, and it's going to be something unusual for judges to see. Which is why, like, I saw one build in this year's competition, which was, in essence, pixel art, but it was on the ground, and it used lava, and it had a slightly three-dimensional aspect to it. It actually made it really quite interesting, even though it was a really simple build, and it was essentially pixel art. Because it was an interesting thing to see, it will most likely score quite high. And that happens with, I mean, I think one of the highest winners in Bebox competition was literally just pixel art of just history of the medieval era. So,
Well, maybe one of the things you could do is tell what you did build this year. The theme for this year was Halloween. So let's go down and say, what did you build this year and how long did it take you to do it?
Again, it took me the night, well, actually half a night, and the day before a bit, I guess, but I was just planning really. But what I went for is, I'm sure you're all aware of the Nether region. It's like the underworld, a portal of the Nether, and there was a big star, I don't know, it's like a symbol.
a pentagram, you mean?
Pentagram with a big ghoul coming out, and it was like, just like that.
Yeah. Simple but effective. Okay, so my build, I decided to go a bit more along the lines of an adventure map this time and spent way too much building an awful lot of redstone. I'd love to know how much I put into it. But so the introduction is, as soon as they open the first chest, which gives them all the introductions and stuff, they are immediately greeted with the Ghostbusters theme tune. And every time they come across a secret, they are greeted with the Zelda secret tone, which, but again, it's a similar concept to last year in terms of secrets everywhere, lots and lots and lots and lots of content. I went for a bit bigger this year than last year because I noticed that these guys did massive builds last year, and I went, I'm not going to let that have that. I'm not going to let them get away with that this year. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to kind of describe it without being able to see it because we built it in a server and won't be able to see it for a short while again. But Raptor?
For me, I built I went for a haunted mansion kind of thing. So I built the haunted mansion and all the grounds around it, and everything's dilapidated and overgrown and cobwebs everywhere. But it's kind of a thing you really have to see. But when I did the tour video for it to put on my channel, it took me half an hour just to tour everything. So there's a lot of like details. I focus a lot on details because my build isn't necessarily large. It's just packed with details.
So since all three of you didn't really expect to win last year, or you were very surprised by your win, did you feel a lot of pressure this year in, trying to keep your titles and build something really awesome again?
No, I did it the night before. I think that shows what I thought of it.
One word, yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I think that's pretty much what we have presentation-wise. If you guys have any questions, the guys would be happy to answer. Anything about their builds, anything about builds in general? Yes.
Can you build like with your friend in this year's building contest?
Can you build with friends?
The Minecon Build Competitions, so far, they've both been single person per build, so.
I mean, bearing in mind this year's one has already been and gone, so there won't be
Yeah.
one until next year. Because with Minecon, in order to actually facilitate them having a competition, they have to have it like a few weeks beforehand, because it runs for 2 weeks, and then Mojang and Multiplayer have got another 2 weeks or so to make Minecon happen. So they usually do it an awful lot earlier, and they actually send out an email about
And they
it.
have to pick the person too, so,
Yeah.
like, because they have to have time to judge the builds and figure out which one they like the best. And
As much as I'd love to judge them, I'm a bit biased.
And I just thought before I forget, but there is a, Tewkesape did upload a world that has all three of these builds on it that can be downloaded if you wanted to, open it up at home and just take a look through it. Can you tell us where that is?
Yeah. Basically, Planet Minecraft, as usual. The world download is on my account, so Tewkesape, which is on the screen somewhere. I'd bring it up, but I don't have internet access on this community here. And it's just click to download the world save. It's got all three of last year's competition winning builds on that world, so you can see them all together and see just how crazy the size difference is. So, yeah, simple
Okay.
as.
Any more questions? Yes.
So I wasn't really clear. You guys got invited to partake in the build, or how would you know? So
Every attendee is emailed beforehand. So I think it was about 4 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
it's in the email, like the one that came out this time. The email was sent out to everybody that was going to Minecon, and it wasn't at the top, it was kind of down further. They had a little section about the build competition. If you wanted to join, click this link and sign up. And that's kind of how it works.
basically, anyone that is going to Minecon can enter the contest.
what do you recommend doing if you have no idea what to build based on the theme?
Good question.
Google.
That is a good.
Yeah, that's
Google is very helpful. For this year, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do at first, but then I was like, houses can be haunted. That's kind of Halloween-like. So that's when I ended up going to Google and looking at things to help inspire me and what, direct my thoughts in a certain direction, so I wasn't all over the place when I built.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, a lot of these competitions have quite general themes, so it helps actually quite a lot. I mean, Parisian Adventure is quite general, and Halloween is incredibly general, so it gives it a lot of scope. And yeah, Google, Wikipedia, Street View are very helpful because it just gives you a good starting point. And if you really struggle, sometimes it's often worth just just trying to build something, and if that doesn't quite work out, it's not the end of the world if you have to scrap it and start again. Yes, it's a lot of clicking to get rid of it, but it's often worth, because it's like anything. If once you get started, it's a lot easier to keep going, I think.
So pretty much just start somewhere with something and
Yeah,
let your imagination go.
but yeah, Google.
Yes.
Did you say mods? Well, for the Minecon Build Competition in particular, there are no mods allowed. So it's all standard vanilla creative.
Yeah.
So we have to place every single block one at a time. And if we mess up, we have to break each block one at a time. So it can take a while.
Yeah, I mean, the Minecon one is server-based, so it's entirely like, and you know, on my build last year, you might have spotted on the time lapse I built something and broke it and put it back together again because I didn't like it, and it is time-consuming to take it apart. But yeah, no mods used, no world edit, no vox or sniper, just bulk standard vanilla creative.
What is the hardest build you guys have done?
Oh, another good question.
It depends on how you define hard. Like my last year's build, it wasn't very difficult for me to creatively because it was basically just copying each stage of Minecraft. But it just took forever because I had so many walls and I had to sculpt all the terrain by hand. And for this year's, I didn't have as much of that to do, but I had so many details. I had to make sure that I had time management is the most difficult part of building, and yeah, I'd say this year's probably more difficult because of that.
Yeah. I mean, to twist the kind of question a little bit, I think the most challenging thing, because I mean, the most challenging build I've done is like, I think it's probably all of them. Like every new one is probably more challenging than last because I tend to up my own stakes. But the most challenging aspect would always say is anything organic. Anything organic is, I find, really difficult. And if you're trying to do a big statue of something, I always find that really challenging. This time I really challenged myself over terraforming, which, again, without mods is actually quite a challenge in itself, just time-wise. But for me, anything organic like terrain, plants, whatever, I always find that much more challenging than anything else. Like buildings, skyscrapers, yeah, can do that. Domes, fine. Give me a treat. No, just run away. Okay. Yeah.
I tried to build Woody from Toy Story and it failed. It was just a blue mess and a cowboy hat.
Yes.
What type of background do each of you have that you fall back on? If you have kind of a graphics design background or an art background that you just naturally take to this field?
I have a associate's degree in architecture,
Ah.
but I've always been very good spatially, so. And Minecraft is basically drawing in 3D, so.
I had the fortune of growing up in a small town in Britain named Tewkesape, which is almost entirely medieval architecture, which helps. And that gave me an awful lot of inspiration in terms of like actually when I went on to do my degree at college, which was archaeology. And that's always given me an awful lot of inspiration as to what I build and how I build it and the content I put in. As I say, like with the Parisian one, I put in a lot of French history because of my knowledge that's there. So that's generally my fallback.
I just play Minecraft a lot.
Yes.
Kind of tying into the last one, you guys are obviously very talented. What's an average day look like for you guys as far as how much time you spend building?
Normally, I mostly just play survival. I find that if I do too much creative work, I get burnt out on it. So basically these competitions are like where I focus most because they take so much of your time that by the end of it, it's like, I don't want to do any more creative. I just want to mine things, and at least for me, survival has much more staying power for me than creative, but I do enjoy being able to create something amazing at times.
I mean, before last Minecon, I was very much an on and off player. Because we all have full-time lives outside of Minecraft because sadly we can't make a living off of it yet, maybe. And so nowadays I play an awful lot more than I used to. But again, I try to spend a good amount of time in survival because that actually gives me a distraction from just building. And it also makes it a bit more of a challenge. It makes it slower as well. So in order for me to build this awesome castle on top of a hill, I have to get all that stone and break a lot of picks. And if I want to get this beacon, I have to go fight a wither, which is always good fun in any regards. Because I play Minecraft for fun. So.
What was the question?
How many hours a day do you play or build?
I hardly ever build. I don't like building. So last time I built was the competition, and the one before that was the other competition. I don't really play. I just wander around my server. So.
Hang on, wait a minute. What about that lobby you built for, Multicube? Like the fact that I distinctly remember you building a massive ship at one point.
Oh well, sometimes I build. When I feel creative, which is rare.
I caught him out, you see.
Any other questions? Yes.
When did you join Minecraft?
When did we join Minecraft?
You can answer that one.
Alpha.
August 2010, which is an alpha. The early multiplayer alpha.
I was a little bit late to the game. I was beta 1.8. I joined.
A long time ago.
In a galaxy far, far away.
Very far. I don't know a date.
Any other questions? Yes. Like motivation? Yeah. How do you stay motivated to finish a project?
It depends if you're in survival or creative. In creative, it helps to have a deadline looming over your head saying, if you don't finish it, it's not going to be done. But I usually don't really build in creative that much because of that very reason, because I just sort of lose interest after a while because I burn out easier on creative than survival. But the way I look at it, though, is I have done creative projects like that, and I look at it as I can always come back to it. And if focusing on something else for a while, and then, it can help to direct your focus every once in a while. Because you can
do something else and then come back.
Right. At least for me, because I do get burnt out easier on creative than survival.
I have to agree. Giving yourself a deadline is one of the best ways to do it. Like, say, I am going to finish this by next week. Sort of, say, for example. What I also do is I tend to go, okay, I want these things in my build, and this is my most important thing that I want in the build, and so on and so forth. And eventually I'll get through those things and task by task by task. But if I get particularly bored of the one task, I'm not scared to go to the other task, which helps with the kind of like I'm kind of bored of this, I'm going to go and do this instead, which is great because you're still building on it, but you're doing something slightly different, which is quite useful. But again, the deadline, having that little bit of pressure helps, which is why I tend to perform much better in contests than I do when I'm just naturally building normally. However, that being said, I have a terrible problem of never thinking I'm finished, even though I might be. So I'm a terrible tinkerer once I'm done. I'm thinking, I think I'm done. I could just change this. To the extent that this year, I felt I'd finished like 2 days beforehand, but I was still adding little things that weren't really necessary.
I lapsed out. What was the question?
How do you stay motivated?
Oh, yeah. Pressure.
So I wasn't quite sure. Did you say pressure?
Pressure.
Any other questions? We're all set? Thank you so much for coming and seeing our panel.
Muchas gracias.
If any of you would like a business card, please feel free to come take one.
Shameless plug.
I have.